Welcome, everybody, to the narrative. Boy Fredo Fonzarelli is back. Sorry, I got caught in some wildfire things.
Oh my god.
Got some feedback.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Where I was checking the audio earlier on my phone, video was still playing.
All right. But we are here, baby. Welcome to the narrative. Good evening, folks. Today is March 23rd. Welcome to the narrative, hosted by me, Fredo Fonzarelli.
And me, Stepfire.
And today, we have the the Tesla. I'm sorry. What do we have, Stepfire?
Yeah, we got some quick updates on the Khalil story and the Tesla vandals from last week, and then we've got our first topic is going to be the JFK files. Our second topic is going to be the Venezuelan gangs, and then the third topic was going to be the soda and snap controversy.
Beautiful. But before we get into the stories of the day, I'd like to bring you some weather and emergency alerts. Right now we have large hail and damaging gusts will continue tonight across portions of central and eastern Texas, the lower Mississippi and Tennessee valleys, and into parts of Alabama. A tornado or two will also be possible. Snow continues across the upper Midwest to the upper Great Lakes today as severe weather and heavy rain threat emerge across the Mid-South. More wet weather expected for the Pacific Northwest through Monday before a drying trend sets in. Well above average, warm to hot early spring temperatures will expand over the western central U.S. this week with numerous record highs possible by Tuesday. A low pressure frontal system moving through the Midwest / Southeast this afternoon will continue to bring a wide spread of precipitation chances, including severe and winter weather to the eastern states today through Monday. And with that, we'll take it on to you, Stepfire.
All right. So shout out to King and Elderline out there in the chat. Appreciate y'all being with us.
Facts.
So the updates. So we got to go just the Khalil update from the New York Times.
Yeah, so New York Times says the U.S. lodges new accusations against a detained Columbia protest leader. The Trump administration is now accusing the Columbia University graduate and protest leader of having withheld information when he applied for permanent residency status. When Mahmoud Khalil, who helped lead pro-Palestinian demonstrations while a Columbia University student, was detained this month, the Trump administration argued he should be deported to help prevent the spread of anti-Semitism, invoking a rarely used law, which is talking about the Alien Sedition Acts of 1798. Lawyers for Mr. Khalil, a legal permanent resident who is being detained in Louisiana, quickly responded that the administration was retaliating against their client for his constitutionally protected speech criticizing Israel and promoting Palestinian rights. Last week, the government quietly added new accusations to his case against Mr. Khalil, saying that he had willfully failed to disclose his membership in several organizations, including a United States agency that helps Palestinian refugees, when he applied to become a permanent U.S. resident last March. It said he also failed to disclose work he did for the British government after 2022. The Trump administration appears to be using the new allegations in part to sidestep the First Amendment issues raised by Mr. Khalil's case. On Sunday, in a filing opposing his release, Justice Department lawyers argued that the new allegations reduce the importance of concerns about Mr. Khalil's right to free speech. Khalil's First Amendment allegations are a red herring, they wrote. Given the new allegations, they added, there was an independent basis for his deportation. The new deportation grounds are patently weak and pretextual, said one of Mr. Khalil's lawyers, Ramsey Qasim, a co-director of Clear, a legal clinic at the City University of New York, that the government scrambled to add them at the 11th hour only highlights how its motivation from the start was to retaliate against Mr. Khalil for his protected speech in support of Palestinian rights and lives. Mr. Khalil's lawyers are expected to argue that the new accusations are pretext for continued retaliation against their client's speech and continued detention far from his home and family. They're fighting for his release in a New Jersey federal court. Mr. Khalil's wife, an American citizen who lives in New York City, is expected to give birth next month. New allegations listed in a document from the Homeland Security Department include that Mr. Khalil did not disclose work with the UN agency or Columbia University Apartheid Divest, a coalition of student groups that set off pro-Palestinian demonstrations at the school. Mr. Khalil earned a master's degree from Columbia in December.
So, Elder, how is my audio now? All right. So, while we wait for him to respond, we can move into the Tesla vandals from the AP. Um, yeah, that's pretty interesting with a sidestep because it does kind of if you can get them on technical grounds, then you can bypass the.
I mean, I don't even think it's that technical. First of all, you're not a citizen, right? You're not a
Yeah, I mean,
citizen,
I agree.
so
I'm just talking about the criticism that you're going to catch from the left. It sidesteps that
yeah. But
that narrative. So
yeah, even so, shit, more power to him. Like you're sitting here, you're arguing that for a terrorist organization that's been named a terrorist organization far before even Biden stepped in office, and he didn't unname him that. So I don't see what their opposition really would be, or any valuable opposition.
it's resistance for resistance sake.
Yeah, facts. Oh, but here we have violent attacks on Tesla dealerships spike as Musk takes prominent role in Trump White House.
Yeah, you can scroll down a little bit on that, past that.
Look at that. That's crazy. Is that a Cybertruck? I thought Cybertrucks were supposed to be indestructible. Must put a
Yeah,
bomb in that thing.
I've seen them things ripped apart, dude.
Ooh, that's crazy work.
They like test them up against like normal trucks. Yeah, uh, no, it's after that.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
It looks like a Subaru.
where it says an Oregon man.
An Oregon man.
Yeah, above it's like 3 paragraphs above those two pictures you're looking at. Those two fires happened in the same day,
Oh,
same
yeah?
night in Berlin.
Let's see. An Oregon man faces charges after allegedly throwing several Molotov cocktails at a Tesla store in Salem, then returning another day and shooting out windows in the wow in the Portland suburb of Tigard. More than a dozen bullets were fired at a Tesla showroom last week, damaging vehicles and windows. The second time in a week that the store was targeted. 4 Cybertrucks were set on fire in a Tesla lot in Seattle earlier this month. On Friday, witness reported a man poured gasoline on an occupied Tesla Model S and started a fire on a Seattle street. In Las Vegas, several Tesla vehicles were set ablaze early Tuesday outside a Tesla service center, where the word resist was also painted in red across the building's front doors. Authorities said at least one person threw Molotov cocktails, crude bombs filled with gasoline or other flammable liquid, and fired several rounds from a weapon into the vehicles. Can they be telling people how to make Molotov cocktails? I don't think that's very safe.
Um, Scroll down a little bit. Yeah, he did say occupied, but he meant unoccupied. Um, Scroll down a little bit more. No money for you. There's more photos. Those two also happened in the same night.
Stop must save lives and restore democracy. Oh my god, bro.
Yeah, that is the those are the peaceful protesters out there.
Yeah. Absolutely
That
fucking
that dude's a fucking
vein
dick.
popping out of his neck.
He's gonna be
How dare you
screaming
drive
in
a
car.
Tesla? How dare you drive a fucking Tesla? Hold on, I got some more. Hold on. Got some good ones. See here, I got this dude. Can y'all see this? Let me know. He literally drives up next to a Tesla just to pull out and key this motherfucker. He's in a parking garage or something, obviously. I don't know if he's in a big city or if he's just like pulling up to a venue or something, but
Yeah, I've seen dozens of these, dude. Just scrolling X. I
yeah,
mean, it's crazy how many people
non-stop.
are doing that.
It's like a sickness.
Or a syndrome.
A syndrome of some sort, yes.
Yeah, he's getting in there too.
Yeah, he was digging in that son of a bitch. Is this lady? Damn. I bet she didn't even do nothing with those little ass kicks. She just got caught on camera for no reason.
I just like I get it, man. Ben and Jerry's, they piss me off. But I ain't never fucking went and like stomped on a fucking Ben and Jerry's pint of ice cream.
Yeah, I'm not about to
I mean,
like shit in a pint of ice cream. But here's a little bit of a palate cleanser. They're right beside a Cybertruck, and then she's trying to just let them see inside of it. You know what I'm saying? They're admiring the car.
Yeah.
Very beautiful, very beautiful, wholesome even, wholesome even. And then here we have, according to Mila Joy, a dumbass getting arrested for keying a Cybertruck. And if you notice, they all have the same sort of physiognomy. These motherfuckers that are doing this sort of vandalism.
Wanna be ninja? A redheaded ninja.
I will key your Cybertruck for the honor of my family. But yeah, that's about it for that one.
All right.
Take a picture.
JFK files.
All right, yeah. So whenever it comes to the JFK files, let me get some stuff pulled up here.
What's up, Smoking Spaceman? It's good to see you again.
Smoking Spaceman salute.
Yeah, that's funny. That's pretty good. TDS 2.0, Tesla derangement syndrome.
Facts though.
It's the same acronym. That's pretty good.
All right, so with the JFK files, we haven't really found anything conclusive, so we just have like a sort of summary for you guys. I know you guys want to hear about it, and it'll be just like a comprehensive summary on what the release was, because it's not like we have anything comprehensive, like I said, of who was behind the trigger or who was actually
Yeah, there's no smoking guns.
yeah, there's no smoking guns. There's a lot of vindication in several conspiracy theory circles, but nothing definitive, if I might say so. But here's what we have. The JFK files comprise a vast collection of documents from multiple agencies, including the FBI, CIA, and others, totaling approximately 260,000 pages at the National Archives. These documents include materials compiled for the Warren Commission, the House Select Committee on Assassinations, the Assassination Records Review Board, and key components include 201 files from Oswald, which are 17 boxes of records related to Harvey Lee Oswald, the alleged assassin. A sequestered selection of 64 boxes, including documents made available to the HSCA during the 1978 investigation, with box 64 containing 72 reels of microfilm, such as CIA personnel and security files, and 201 files on 151 individuals. and the HSCA referrals, which is 23 boxes encompassing staff notes, draft report sections corresponding to trip reports referred by the National Archives for CIA equity review. Holmes collection, which is 19 boxes used by the CIA Director of Operations, focal point Russell Holmes for freedom of which is a FOIA request, and the JFK queries. Miscellaneous, which is 13 boxes, including the ARB follow-ups, a Latin American division file, calendars, and the DI/OCI dailies. Additional materials include presidential libraries, church community, Rockefeller Commission testimonies, National Security Council papers, and PFIAB minutes accessed through ARRB staff. The collection also includes an additional 400 pages from FOIA requests for DCI morning meeting minutes related to JFK, highlighting the breadth of materials reviewed. Notably, not all materials were directly related to the assassination. For instance, only some folders in certain boxes, such as those from the Bay of Pigs period, were deemed relevant, with ARRB staff designating approximately 22 boxes as assassination records. So, some of the key findings in the release documents were ties between the Soviet Union and Oswald, which including Soviet Union's handling of American defectors, KGB interest in Oswald, and Yuri Nosenko's review of Oswald's KGB file declared relevant due to Nosenko bona fides issue, CIA mafia contracts. The agency contacts with mafia to arrange for Fidel Castro's assassination unknown to the Warren Commission, and related testimony before the Church Committee considered relevant for understanding assassination activities. Cuban conspiracy theories, files on agency support for Cuban exile groups, Project Mongoose, hundreds of JM Wave cables, Mexico City station documents, and Cuban names with crypts, reflecting theories of Castro's potential retaliation or exile anger over the Bay of Pigs failure, and other plots, which include Patrice Lumumba, linked to Technical Service Division, which was also involved in Castro assassination planning, adding to the context of the CIA activities during the period of the Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, dude. 250,000 pages of documents.
Yeah, it's like 80,000.
Crazy.
Yeah, so they released 123,000 pages in 93, 30,000 in 95, 74 that was back in 93 in August, but we don't even know how much they've even released to this date. They don't even know how much has been released this time.
The JFK files comprise of a vast collection of documents from multiple agencies, including the FBI, CIA, totaling approximately 260,000.
260,000 all in total?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
250,000.
That's crazy work, bro. The conspiracy theorists have a field day. They got their whole lunch ahead of them with this one.
Yeah, but they'll never be satisfied because there are no definitive answers that came from it.
And there's
you got some context filled in with some of those, like you said, the retaliation for the Bay of Pigs and the attempted assassination on Fidel Castro. So, but
yeah, it's just like you said, they're never gonna get their answer, bro. It's always gonna be left unfinished. There's a lot of interest that want to keep their involvement kept under wraps.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Yeah, it's shining some light on that. I mean, they are gonna have a field day and they're gonna take advantage. It was just released, and Spaceman here makes a good point. He says a lot of duplicates that were redacted are no longer redacted. So
Yeah.
There's a lot to that can be mulled over. Now, what I'm yeah, we'd basically have to wait and see how the conspiracy theories adapt to this new information. Um, and I don't mean conspiracy theories necessarily with a negative
The
connotation.
way the CIA wants you to mean conspiracy theories. Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah.
So, was there anything else on that?
That's pretty much it. I mean, there's been a couple fights on Twitter about like whatever, whatever, but it's really a non-issue.
All right. So, um, yeah, I don't really have any opinions on the JFK assassination. Uh, Honestly, if they wanted to cover it up, whichever files they didn't want in that 260,000 documents just wouldn't be there.
Just lie by
They
omission.
just
Just
shred
fucking
it,
X
or
that
they
shit
never
out of
wrote
it.
it down at all. So it all is kind of like in vain anyway, in my opinion. Because if there was something that was super juicy, it's not going to be there. Like, why would they release that?
That's
Um,
facts. And
Maybe
if it
some
was in there,
whistleblowers, but
like I promised, like with all the fucking, excuse my language, like autistic fucking conspiracy heads that are looking into this, it would have been found already. Like you have all these AI algorithms that are combing through these files right now, trying to find anything, any and everything. How do you think all the pages with the Israeli defense whatever came out so quick? Like them motherfuckers was searching for those exact words. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I've never really cared about the release of the JFK files. I mean, do I think it would be cool uh, to learn the truth definitively? Yeah, sure. But if they didn't want us to know, we're just not going to know. So, I mean,
Yeah.
ain't nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, not much that can be done. That's for sure.
Um, yeah, Elderline said, yeah, it was enough pages for me just to wait for someone else to tell me who I should be mad at.
Facts.
Then Spaceman, perfect to send the CTS down a rabbit hole. Is that the conspiracy theorist?
Cons-
CTS?
Conspiracy theorists. Sounds like it.
Yeah, down a rabbit hole and avoid looking into more current theories.
Yeah, exactly. Give them enough information to keep them busy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. All the things that go would prove LBJ was involved were torched long ago. Yeah. Yep. I mean, if that were the case, that it it wouldn't be around anymore. But so we can move into the second topic, which is the Venezuelan gangs. Um,
Venezuelan gang.
I think it's is it Tre de Agua?
Trende Aragua.
Tren de Agua. Okay, yeah. I don't care to learn the name of their fucking gang. You know, it's a
Bullshit,
fucking Tree de Aqua,
yeah.
tree water.
Yeah.
uh, so uh, we're going to cover the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, and because this is how Trump kind of go about making all of this happen. So the Enemies Act was of 1798 was one part of a set of four laws that was passed in 1798 by the Federalist Party, who argued that the bill would strengthen national security during an undeclared naval war with France. That it's called the Quasi War, that took place from 1798 to 1800. The three other laws that passed at the same time was the Naturalization Act of 1798, which increased requirements for immigrants to seek citizenship. The Alien Friends Act of 1798, invest the president with additional powers to imprison and deport non-citizens during times of war, invasion, or predatory incursion, and the Sedition Act of 1798, which criminalized false and malicious statements about the federal government. The Sedition Act and the Alien Friends Act expired in 1800 with the end of the undeclared war with France, and the Naturalization Act, which was repealed in 1802. The Alien Enemies Act, which is what Trump used to uh, deport or to send the Tree Water gang to El Salvador. It's still on the books today in U.S. code. Um, yeah, so this was interesting when I was looking into it, just on this little bit, because it says, I said it like 8 times, 1798. This is 20 years after the founding of the country.
Yeah.
And this is the Federalist Party, and they passed the, which one was it? The Sedition Act of 1798.
You want me to go back to that one?
No, you don't have to. I'm just it criminalized false and malicious statements about the federal government. So lies against the government was illegal. And that was the Federalist Party that was pushing that. The Federalist Party ultimately lost power in the subsequent election. So that's why all that stuff got reversed, because it was clearly unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
But back to the times that the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, that the same law that's still in effect. There has been some amendments to it, but the same law exists. The fourth president of the United States, James Madison, invoked it in the War of 1812 to force British nationals to report to local authorities to undertake additional duties.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know what those additional duties was. I wanted to look into it, but I had to get through this. So I was just personal curiosity. I did want to know what those additional duties were. The 28th president, Woodrow Wilson, invoked the act in World War One against the nationals of the Central Powers, which is Germany, Austria, Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. In the 32nd president, Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR, invoked the Alien Enemies Act to intern Japanese, German, and Italian non-citizens. The internment of the Japanese Americans was not done through the Alien Enemies Act, but instead through other powers of the president. Um, I I can't remember who had ordered a provision, but the president ordered a provision to the law that would allow him to uh, intern the Japanese Americans, the citizens of America that just happened to be of Japanese descent. So
Yeah, back in World War II.
um, so why El Salvador? In mid-March 2025, the Trump administration deported over 200 Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador as part of a border crackdown on immigration, specifically targeting individuals it labeled as security threats. This move was facilitated by an agreement with El Salvador's government, led by President Nayib Bukele. I think that's how you say that, who has been a key ally in this effort. Upon arrival, these deportees were detained in El Salvador's CECOT mega prison, a facility built to house gang members and other high risk prisoners. The administration justified this under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, claiming the deportees, alleged members of the Venezuelan gang, uh, Tree Diagua, Tren Diagua,
Fucking tree climbers, man.
posed a significant danger to U.S. national security. Yeah, I was reading a little bit about the prison, and they're not allowed yard time. Um, they're not allowed visits.
Yeah.
Nobody can come. I mean, it's
like they have to walk with their head
bro.
down. You see how they're like carrying out the prisoners? Hold on.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can show you how they're like carrying out the prisoners, but they got like their head ducked down, and like they
Yeah,
have to like carry them out like that, and like they have to walk like that or they'll get shot.
it's crazy, dude.
I
It's
mean,
like
gotta keep them
I
under
understand
control.
not wanting to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have like these you have these prisons in Mexico where they're fucking where the cartels absolutely run the prison, and they're basically summer camps. These motherfuckers in there just drinking tequila, doing coke, and fucking bitches all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean this
Um,
dude Boasberg right here, he's the one who was trying to block the flights. And apparently, I don't know if you want to tell before I get into this. I don't know if you want to get into a little background on Mr. Boasberg here.
Boasberg. Who is this?
It's the judge who is trying to stop the flights from Venezuela.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna get in that in just a second.
Oh, okay, bet.
Um, so, um, so why is Trump sending these gang members to uh, El Salvador? The decision to send them to El Salvador rather than their home country of Venezuela at that moment stemmed from a temporary halt in deportation flights to Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has suspended these flights earlier in March after a diplomatic spat with the Trump administration triggered by the U.S. revoking Chevron's oil export license. With Venezuela refusing to accept deportees, the Trump administration turned to El Salvador as an alternative, leveraging Bukele's willingness to cooperate on his tough on crime reputation. Um, this wasn't a random choice. El Salvador's government has been aligning with Trump's agenda, partly to strengthen its own position and gain favor in the U.S. The deportees, handcuffed and dressed in white upon arrival, were processed under a deal that showcased El Salvador's role as a partner in Trump's immigration strategy. However, the move sparked controversies with family and human rights advocates arguing that many of those deported were not gang members and that the process violated due process rights. Legal challenges quickly emerged, questioning the use of the 1978 law and the accuracy of the threat designation. By March 22nd, Venezuela agreed to resume accepting deportees after negotiations, suggesting that El Salvador deportations were a stopgap measure to maintain momentum in Trump's deportation push. The border motivation ties into Trump's campaign pledges to expel criminal aliens and reduce illegal immigration, with El Salvador serving as a willing third country partner when direct deportations to Venezuela was stalled. So now we can get into the judge. Um, you said you wanted me to get into his background, and then you got something.
Yeah, yeah, I got a couple tweets um
Okay,
afterwards if you just want to let the people know where he comes from.
okay. So Judge James Emmanuel, uh, they call him Jib Boasberg. Is it Boasberg?
I don't know. Boasberg.
Boasberg. He is
He's
a
a
prominent
snake.
American. Yeah, he's a prominent American jurist currently serving as the Chief Judge of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. He was born in '63 in San Francisco, California, but grew up in Washington, where his father worked in the federal government. He built a distinguished career in law and public service marked by bipartisan appointments with a reputation of fairness, though he recently become a lightning rod in political disputes. Um, I mean, that's basically just the where he come from. His
Yeah.
judicial career began in 2002 with President George W. Bush. He was appointed to Superior Court of the District of Columbia, where he served in civil, criminal, and domestic violence divisions. In 2011, President Barack Obama nominated him to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, and he was confirmed unanimously by the Senate, 96-0. He became chief judge in March of 2023. Beyond this, Boasberg has held significant roles in national security law, including a stint on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. Um, from 2014 to 2001, where he was presiding judge from 2020 to 2001. And he was also chief judge of the Alien Terrorist Removal Court from 2000 to 2025. So he's still, that's where he's at now. So that kind of explains why he's getting involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there has been some later speculation because he's getting involved. He's trying to send the flights back, and here is Trump's response right here. Let me start this over.
Judge say that he wants him. You know, he didn't run for president.
The president continues arguing he's got the authority.
Can you hear that, chat?
Alleged gang members, and Judge James Boasberg does not have the authority to stop him.
And we just can't let that happen. It'd be so bad for our country.
The president is also claiming these alleged gang members are terrorists in the same category as people vandalizing Tesla property nationwide.
The people that finance it are, in my opinion, in just as big a trouble as the people that are setting the match and setting the fires.
And that's what I was telling my wife earlier.
The president suggests they could serve time in the prisons of El Salvador, which have become so recently famous for such lovely conditions.
They could get 20 years in jail, and they'll get it. I'll tell you, there's going to be no leniency, and there'll be no pardon. Can't let a judge.
Yeah, that's what I was telling my wife earlier. Somebody had to be paying for those Tesla fires. That has to be something of a deeper meaning. But here from Laura Loomer, we have an accusation breaking less than 12 hours after I exposed Judge James Boasberg's conflict of interest with his daughter Catherine Boasberg, who works for the 501c3 called Partners for Justice, that gives criminal, illegal aliens, and gang members legal advice. Catherine Boasberg has deleted her LinkedIn page and her Instagram account. I have exclusively uncovered a massive conflict of interest involving Judge James Boasberg, the Chief Judge of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. Judge Boasberg recently made the decision to prevent the deportation of criminal, illegal alien gang members on planes and out of the country. This is enough for President Trump's legal team to push for a motion for recusal for Judge Boasberg.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Spaceman said here he made a lot of big moves under the Biden administration. And yeah, he did.
What type of moves
And-
did he make under the Biden administration?
Oh, just that
Boasberg?
history, that history that I just read through.
Oh yeah.
You know how many times he'd been moved through. I'm trying to find where I had read that at. Yeah. So yeah, he blocked the Trump administration's use of the 1798. That's the year, King. In case you missed it, the other 15 times. 1798 Aliens Enemies Act to deport over 200 alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador without due process, sparking a fierce backlash. Trump called for his impeachment, labeling him a quote radical left lunatic, end quote. While Chief Justice John Roberts defended judicial independence, rejecting such calls as inappropriate. The incident highlighted Boasberg's willingness to challenge executive overreach. Though his record shows balance, he ruled in Trump's favor at times, like dismissing a DOJ lawsuit against Steve Wynn in 2002 and issuing lighter sentences than prosecutors sought for some January 6 rioters. I didn't know he was involved in any of that stuff.
I didn't either.
That surprised me. Known for his collegial demeanor, legal acumen, and occasional pop culture references in ruling, like Star Trek and what is that? Fugees lyrics. I don't even know what that is. Boasberg is respected among peers as a feeder judge, with many clerks advancing to Supreme Court clerkships, and that's why he's called. Because critics, particularly Trump allies, question his impartiality in political charged cases, pointing to his Obama appointment and his wife's Democratic donations. Yet his bipartisan appointments and consistent legal approach suggest a jurist guided by law over ideology, even as he navigates a polarized landscape. As of now, at 62, he remains a central figure in DC's legal and political arena. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that I haven't heard about him, but the conflict of interest is there.
Yeah.
So it's not, the conflict of interest isn't there so uh biased judges can be taken out. It's so that any judge could be taken out if there's a conflict of interest. So
Absolutely.
even if he has I mean, we can just grant that he has a perfectly noble reasoning, and the law is on his side. He truly believes this, and it's not ideologically driven. Even if that was the case, his daughter working for the what was it? Something for justice for peace or something. What was it?
Um,
Um,
it was
yeah,
something like that. Justice for Peace. I'll have to go back.
yeah, it was something like it. And their ties. I mean, giving
Yeah,
illegals
Partners for
and I mean
Justice is what it was
partners
called.
with us. Yeah. So giving legal advice to gang members.
Yeah,
And then he's
ridiculous.
like, you can't deport these gang members. Well, there's a conflict of interest, even if he is a straight line judge. So
Absolutely.
you could just grant all of that. The conflict of interest is enough to take him out.
And there's another part conflict of interest, just like Elder Lion said, he believes in a utopian society, like he said in Star Trek. And he also references Star Trek while handing out judgments. Okay, now I'm demanding charges on this judge, is what Elder Lion says.
I don't. I've watched quite a bit of Star Trek, but I'm not like I might do like the beam me up Scotty kind of shit, like some shit that's fucking so
I,
ubiquitous in culture that
I was
it's
always playing. My grandma would watch Star Trek, and I was always like in the front yard or something doing some crazy shit. Never really.
shit. I was watching that, um, the original one with William Shatner. Dude,
Yeah.
that was like 55 minutes long each episode, dude. Like back in the 80s, was it late 70s, something like that? Dude, it was like, dang, man.
I'll focus on Black
Fucking old
Mirror
shit.
though. Black Mirror is like a movie each episode, and every episode is so lit. I really like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Um, they do dance around some interesting topics, and
Yeah.
I'm always a sucker for that kind of thing. But I mean, that pretty much sums up where we're at with the conflict between the Trump administration and Judge Boasberg, Mr. Jeb.
Jeb Boasberg.
Um, right now, we're kind of waiting to see how that all plays out. So tune in next week for an update if we got one for that one.
Tune in next time for Jeb Boasberg.
All right. So the third topic was the soda and snap controversy.
All right,
So
so yeah, we got some controversy. It's mostly on Twitter, but it's been a lot in Congress in the upper states. The controversy centers on whether soda and other sugar sweetened beverages should be eligible for purchase using SNAP benefits, which are intended to help low income individual help and families buy food. These debates touches on public health, individual rights, and corporate interest, with recent developments involving influencer marketing adding a new dimension. So it's basically we got people saying that you shouldn't be able to use your food stamps to purchase junk food, basically. And it's a part of RFK and this whole MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. Let me pull this up.
what wasn't there an actual push from the Health and Human Services?
Yeah, yeah, they're actually on the way, and that's kind of what sparked the controversy. We have Tim Pool here saying EBT, SNAP, and any other welfare recipients should be banned from buying soda. Didn't elaborate, just short, sweet, and to the point. Matt Walsh comes in. He says, I was broke for years, and I never would have dreamed of demanding that my fellow Americans buy me soda and cookies. And that was in response to Bob J, who says, hope you don't ever need help. All you pricks will then be screaming about stealing your money. Matt Walsh also says, I have to assume that anyone defending the use of food stamps to buy soda must either be on food stamps or they're getting paid by the soda industry. Otherwise, it's a baffling point of view. Why in God's name should taxpayers be forced to subsidize somebody else's junk food purchase? Why should someone who has cut back on junk food or for budgetary or health reasons still be forced to pay so that other people can buy the junk? Is totally indefensible position.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would advocate, like, if I was starting out negotiations of what should be on EBT and SNAP and such, it would be for children that obviously can eat solids. It'd be rice and beans, homie.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I actually had a tweet about that. Oh my God. Somebody said something about like, this wouldn't even be a problem if you're on food stamps, you just sent food. Why don't they just like have rice, beans, cheese, you know what I'm saying? Some meat packs, you know what I'm saying? Why don't they just give them food? Why give them any form of money in the first place? You understand? Like, I don't get that.
well, yeah, ideally that would probably way better, but you know, we have enough trouble sending money where it needs to go, and that's a whole lot harder. I mean, that's a whole lot easier than trying to
I don't know,
set up the
logistically,
logistics for.
food would be, you know what I mean? You give people a couple packs of this, couple pounds of that. It's really easy. You get this
I mean,
many ounces, you get this many ounces, and there you go. Get on your day. It would incentivize these motherfuckers to get jobs, if you ask me.
I know that that's kind of what WIC does. Like certain milks you can get through WIC, but
Yeah.
it's a voucher that you get. So you could probably do something along the lines of that, where here's a voucher for 2 pounds of hamburger meat, or if it's for a month, I guess it would be much higher than that for the two
Yeah.
pounds, whatever. But yeah, there's no it doesn't make any sense why, because I grew up poor, dude. I grew up on food stamps,
Facts.
on all of the government assistance. Um, so I get, I enjoyed eating, but I didn't need to eat a bunch of candy. That wasn't necessary. When Halloween come around, I got my candy. I walked the neighborhoods. Like, that was what we did, and we would get so much candy in one night, it would last forever.
Oh my God,
But
yeah.
but it was kind of crazy that you could use EBT and just go buy all of this stuff that is like straight poison to the body. And I mean, it is a problem, and it would be a great incentive. I would be a little more lenient with how much I'd be willing to give people if all they were getting was uh, beans and rice.
And that's
And
facts.
so it would incentivize people to move up. That you have society operates off of incentives. When you have uh, incentives that lead to bad outcomes or disincentives for good things, that's when you start seeing society start falling apart, because lowest common denominator is just going to move to that path of least resistance. So yeah.
I've grown up poor too, and believe me when I tell you that there's a lot of people who a large a large amount of people who will sit there and sell their food stamps for 50 cents on the dollar just to
Oh, I know, would go and sell $800 worth
yeah,
of food stamps for cash. And it's like, bruh,
yeah,
like, dang.
it
That's where the
happens.
voucher system would probably be. Well, I don't know. Probably wouldn't, because you're still trading food for money
Facts.
ultimately.
It does
What if it was
happen.
just rice and beans?
Exactly, bro. Like shit, we're gonna start selling plates. Like what you got going on, bro? But look, Nick Sorter comes in. He makes the accusation that a bunch of influencers are actually paid by Big Soda. Big Soda. He said, exposed! Influenceable, the company cutting big checks to influencers on behalf of Big Soda. Over the past 48 hours, several large, supposedly MAGA-aligned influencers posted almost identical talking points fed to them, convincing you Maha was out of line for not wanting soda purchases with food stamps. Snap.
Like a Minecraft villager.
Some even slimily invoked President Trump as an emotional manipulation tactic, referring to his Diet Coke button. Not a single one of them disclosed that they were paid for these posts, which led readers to believe a general soda ban was in the works. Here we have Clown World, Eric Doherty, Ian Miles Chong, and not Jerome Powell, which is actually Jerome Powell, all posting similar quotes against soda. And then even afterwards, Eric Doherty seems to admit it. I don't know if this is a troll or if he was serious, but he says, yeah, that was dumb of me. Massive egg on my face. In all seriousness, it won't happen again.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know how to take that tweet. I really didn't. Uh, because it does sound sarcastic. But he doesn't really deny it. So it might just be worse for the, you know, the soda industry to be just called out. Um, who was he? Who was he again?
Eric Doherty, let's see.
Yeah.
Assistant news director at FL Voice News, Florida Voice News, Marylander turned Floridian, politics and breaking news alerts for Florida Voice News.
Wait a minute. Is he one of the influencers that took money?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still don't know how to take it. Massive egg on my face. Because he could just be mocking it.
Yeah, he might be. I think he's serious though. Because DJ Freedom Rockets here says, kind of lost trust of all your supporters. Glad you owned it. But what prevents you from doing this again if you think you can get away with it like the last time? Eric Doherty says, you make a valid point. My word will only be as good as the actions that follow.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound sarcastic.
It seems very sincere.
Huh. Okay. Well, so big soda.
Big soda.
I mean, it definitely needs to happen because you know how many issues that kind of tackles, even if it's on the fringes.
Oh,
Obesity.
absolutely. And those are the number one killers of people in the United States. Like, people want to talk about like cancer and blah 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 blah. Literally, the number one killers are diseases that are preventable. Like things that you could get off the couch and just do 30 minutes of exercise a day and prevent from fucking doing to yourself. It's crazy. Like,
Okay. Was there anything else on that?
not that I have.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that will conclude the news portion of the show.
Nice.
So last week I was highly unprepared for our dive into Platonism, particularly with Neoplatonism. So I probably should have pushed it off, but then Fredo had missed the show, so that kind of I didn't have him to bounce it off of to kind of help flesh out the ideas. So we're going to cover this again.
Okay. So
but
we're
I
talking
do-
about in Platonism and metaphysics and philosophy of mathematics. What are we talking about here?
It's just the general view of Platonism, and then I get into how it expands into other categories. I kind of weave in how Platonism can be applied to more and more categories. And then Platonism evolves into Neoplatonism, which is the metaphysical side of things. It'll make sense, hopefully. Make sense when we're done. But um, I'm gonna send you a picture. You don't have to pull this up yet. This will be pulled up for um, the Neoplatonism. So let me get this together for you real quick. Oh shit.
All right, 1 second.
Sorry, folks. Thank you for bearing with us.
Hey, and do you want me to drop the link?
Oh yeah, that can go ahead and happen.
You said what?
Yeah, that can. Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
So if anybody wants to join while we talk through this, come on up. More people we have to bounce off of, the idea off of, the more fleshed out we can really make it. So
Trying to get it in chat. My computer's being slow as fuck. I dropped the wrong thing. Fuck me.
Platonism is the view that there exist abstract objects, where an
Bro,
abstract.
you might want to start over. My bad. I dropped you down. You probably been talking. They didn't hear you.
Oh no, that's okay because I stopped and then I thought you were. But we're good. I was literally on the first half of the first sentence.
Okay, cool.
Platonism is the view. Oh, the picture is for the Neoplatonism, so don't worry about pulling that up yet. We'll pull that up in a minute. Platonism is the view that there exist abstract objects, where an abstract object is an object that is non-spatial, non-temporal, non-physical, and non-mental and non-causal. Which these just mean non-spatial, it's not within space; non-temporal, it's not within time; non-physical, it's not made of matter; non-mental, it is not dependent on a mind. Or an idea in a mind or a disembodied soul, and it's non-causal, so it doesn't have any physical effect on the material world.
So that wait. So this is a belief that concepts exist. Is that right?
Yes, as real objects,
What?
just non-physical objects.
Non-physical objects.
Yeah, they.
A metaphysical object.
I mean, it depends on how you're defining metaphysical, because some people mean it to be.
Are you talking about like the
non-physical.
horse that was the shadow on the wall before there was the horse? You know how like there's some philosophers who believe like there's like a realm where like everything has its initial form, and then in the real world that form is like actualized into like individualism, but it's all like cut out from a cookie cutter. You know what I mean?
We will be getting into that. That's more Neoplatonism. But yeah, I mean, that is, you can tie Plato's cave analogy, shadow on the wall cave analogy, for what to illustrate Platonism. So I guess you could with a horse as well. So these abstract ideas Plato called forms. So forms are the greatest expression of a quality or a property. Um, that sums up what it's not, but doesn't go very far as to tell us what it is. A simple place to start in the Platonist view is with the idea that numbers are abstract objects. They are
Wait,
just
wait. I'm sorry. This definition is so crazy. It's so hard to wrap my head around. It's the belief that something exists that doesn't exist, essentially.
well, it just exists in a different form or a different
That we have no way of knowing if it exists or not.
uh well, no, that's what Platonism actually is trying to resolve. Um let me read through a lot of this because I'm just trying to lay out the idea,
Okay.
because it'll answer some of the questions. Because it when you hear the non-spatial, non-temporal, non-physical, non-mental, non-causal, you're like, well, what the hell else is there? uh, so I understand the confusion. The A simple place to start was the idea of that numbers are abstract objects.
Hmm.
That is to say that they are as real as a rock, just not as a physical object located in space and time, but in a metaphorical Plutonic heaven. So, more precisely, numbers exist independently of us or our minds, but don't exist within space and time. The idea of Platonism extends also to properties like redness or straightness or beauty. Um, there are
Let's
many
see.
there are many things that are red: red balls, red cars, red paper, and these all exist as particulars in the physical world. Platonists posit that red, the property itself, also exists as an abstract object. These red cars are said to instantiate or exemplify redness. The same thing applies to straightness or to beauty. Um, so, another way of looking at this, this is what helped clear it up for me because it's hard to wrap your head around what kind of where is red if it's none of these things. The universal red,
It's in your
not the
mind, yeah.
particular red. Um, a dog is a great example. When you look at a dog, you can look at a Chihuahua and you can look at a Rottweiler or a Great Dane or a Husky. Doesn't matter.
But it's all
These
a dog.
these two share a property called dogness. We can't. How are these two things, dogs, when they obviously have very different uh, attributes on their outside? They're shorter, some are taller, fatter, hairier, short hair, long hair. All of these separate things: long tail, no tail, droopy ears. Point straight up ears. All of these properties that are within dogs can be wildly different. But there's one property that is the same with between dogs, and that is their
Canine.
dogness.
Yeah, their DNA.
Well, the DNA is I because I had thought about that. I was like, well, that is what connects them is the DNA. But before there was DNA, we still knew that Chihuahuas were dogs and that the Great Danes were dogs.
Hmm.
So what does these two dogs before there was the advent or the discovery of DNA? How did we still classify these things as dogs? How
It
would
was
we know? They just share this
it was the
property of dogness.
Platonistic shadow on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, that essentially, yes. The shadow is the dogs themselves, the particular dogs, the Chihuahua and the Great Dane in the example. These are the shadow. But what is the shadow of? It
Of the
is of
dog.
the greatest expression of dogness. That's
Yeah,
what's actually casting the shadow. The shadow itself is the dog.
the
What's
perfect
going on,
dog.
JS?
The goodest boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so that helped straighten that up for me a little bit. So I do have a quote
Yo,
here
JS.
from Plato on beauty. Hold on, let me see what we got going on in chat. So it's a chair stream. I guess that's when you had walked away. Not part of the physical reality or resulting from physical things. Yes, abstract objects. Sounds deep. I like it. Eternal. Okay. Elderline, I haven't read any Platonist stuff in a long time. I was atheist. I remember rolling my eyes out. That's about it. But if you ask drunk me, I'm an expert in Platonism. Spaceman, even without your mind, red still exists.
That's facts.
JS, yo.
I mean, but red is still subjective though, like, because like you could see a wavelength and it could be blue to you, but you call it red. But since everybody calls that red,
yeah, I know what you're
regardless. Yeah.
Is the red that you see the same red that I see?
Yeah.
So the only, all right, so we can apply red, the property of red, just like we did with dogness.
Yeah.
So you have a dark red ball and a light red
shadow on the wall.
A light red. I don't know what the hell is light red. I don't want to
Pink.
use another ball. We'll say car. So you have a dark red and a light red. Dark red ball and a light red car. Well, they still share this property of
redness, yeah.
But scientifically, empirically, when you measure the wavelengths that these two reds put off, they're not the same. So they're not the same red. So what is it? Why do we call these two things that's not red? We still call them red. That's because they express the property
they
of
share
redness.
The ontological property that is red.
Green.
I mean, it's funny, but yeah,
green
it's
like
true.
A lime or a green link glass. Is that supposed to be drink glass?
I don't know. It's kind of I get it, green. I understand the metaphor. Excuse me.
So I got a quote from Plato on beauty because we're going to branch out. We're going to apply Platonism to more and more categories, and eventually that morphs into Platonism, Neoplatonism. So a quote from Plato on beauty. Quote, if anyone tells me what makes a thing beautiful is its lovely color or its shape or anything else of the sort, I let all that go. For all those things confuse me, and I hold simply and plainly and perhaps foolishly to this, that nothing else makes it beautiful but the presence or communion of absolute beauty. That's the shadow on the wall. However, it may be gained. About the way in which it happens, I make no positive statement as of yet, but I do insist that beautiful things are made beautiful by beauty.
That fucking hits, bro. That fucking hits. Beauty has an ontological value unto itself.
The ontology of beauty in the Platonistic worldview is that it does exist in it
does occupy some sort of metaphysical space.
I mean, technically it's a contradiction because they're in the metaphysical.
I mean, yeah, metaphysical, there is no space.
But yes, essentially.
Yeah, as much as that makes sense, yeah. As much as that makes sense.
So things that you think are beautiful, whether it be a flower or a bird or a painting, whatever it might be, all of these things exemplify what beauty is. But they're all still beautiful, and they could be completely different.
They just have the property of beauty, but pure beauty is something separate from the thing which holds the property.
Exactly. Platonism does not only apply to properties observed in the physical world, but also properties not observed in the physical world. Now, this is a little trippy. An example of a property not observed in the physical world would be a cell phone with the property of a mile long screen. So, a cell phone whose screen is a mile long.
What the fuck?
Um, this doesn't exist within the physical world, but Platonism suggests that there
It
still is
exists
a
conceptually.
yeah, yeah, in a Platonistic sense.
Hmm.
So it's real. It is a real property. It just hasn't been discovered, if you will.
That's kind of
Um,
crazy though. Like,
yeah. Um, though there is no physical example of the cell phone with a mile long screen, Platonists say that the property does still, in fact, exist. Um, this may seem silly at first, but if you apply this to the context of history, it can make a little more sense, or
it
it can
kind of
confuse you a little more.
it kind of undermines their fucking, their claim of, metaphysical concepts actually existing. You know what I mean?
Say that again.
The fact that something ridiculous like that, like a cell phone with a mile long screen, it kind of undermines, like, under the Platonism view that exists, it kind of undermines their theory that that concepts exist, if that makes sense. I mean,
Uh,
I guess not, because it exists, but like, what space does it feel like? There,
yeah, I mean, that's a category. That's just a category here.
that's
It doesn't
crazy.
fill any space because
Yeah,
it's not within
exactly.
space. So, I mean, if you
It kind
something
of,
that might help, you can just imagine that it exists in the same place that God
what
exists.
are they saying that it's real though? They're not saying it exists, they're just saying that it's real. And what does real mean but
The
that it
property,
exists?
not the item itself, not the cell phone with the mile long screen, but the
Yeah.
property of a cell phone with a mile long screen. That property itself, just like red, it
But
exists.
if the item doesn't exist, there cannot be the property, because the property is something of something that exists, right? Like, you know?
So that's why I was getting into the it may seem silly at first part
Okay.
because
Okay.
I was right there with you. I was like, all right, now you're starting to lose me here. But um, we can still take the cell phone as an example. The property of instantaneous wireless voice communication didn't physically exist 100 years ago.
Hmm.
But could you say that 100 years ago that those properties don't exist? Or would you say 100 years ago those properties just hadn't been discovered?
Um,
Uh,
I would say that they didn't exist because the proper components weren't put together to make them factual. That makes sense.
um, well, let's put it like we can do a hypothetical with red because the property of the mile long screen is equivalent to redness. But imagine that uh,
I don't
you're
know. I
born.
think it's equivalent to, like, I wouldn't say UFO, but say like a flying crazy saucer, like made out of some weird space metal or something. Like, it's conceptual and it could exist,
Mhm.
but there's no, like, just because it could, like, happen in the future doesn't mean that it exists as of yet.
No, not the particular thing itself.
But the
So
property.
the universal would have to exist in order for the
So the
particular
flying of the saucer or the gravity defying of the saucer would have to exist.
in a non-physical way, yes, in a Platonistic way.
Oh, no, no. My mind just got fucking blown. I get it, bro. I get it. The property has to be like yeah, no. The it has to be able to be done. Therefore it exists. It just hasn't been
Been
discussed.
discovered.
I'm retarded, bro. Please
Yeah.
continue.
Just to, I mean, it's good because like this is why I need you for particularly for this the philosophical stuff to
Cause
bounce
I'm
stuff off.
retarded.
No, because you're asking questions that people are gonna ask, and so um if you're retarded, so am I, because I still don't fully understand this shit. So uh what was I about to say? Um I was gonna further elaborate, but I don't remember on what. Um oh yeah, the shadow in the cave. In order for us to see the shadow, in order for us to see the particular, the physical thing, something must be casting that shadow first.
Hmm.
So that's where the property itself must exist
The
in order
reverend.
for it to manifest in the physical world. Um,
I think the property is an effect of the causal though, right? So like there would be like the pure essence which makes the property.
yeah, that's what's casting the shadow.
Yeah.
Um, so I move into the what if we were to look into a possible future, into a possible, so before we looked into the past for at the cell phone, well, let's look into the future. Would you say that the property of flight in a car doesn't exist? Or just that it hasn't been discovered yet?
The property,
Um,
I don't think that would be a property. Like a car as we know it is like a terrain moving vehicle, like it moves upon the earth. So that isn't the property of a car right now. Like the property of a car is a, you know what I mean, a vehicle that moves over a terrain.
yeah, but we're still in the plutonic heaven, where all the
Where time
shadows are
and
cast
space
from.
doesn't exist, yeah.
Yeah. So that is where, again, the plutonic heaven is where the shadows are being cast, and the shadow on the cave wall is what we are perceiving in reality. That's how we see everything. We just see the shadow of the thing that is of its pure form. Um, so the property of flight in a car. So the
Mm-hmm.
property of flight does exist, and there's not a contradiction in saying that a car can fly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you might rename it because you know what wouldn't a plane be a car that can fly too?
Yeah,
Kind of,
I
you know.
suppose. It's all
Um,
combustion engines.
but that is getting into particulars that are not necessarily relevant, um, just to try to get the idea. So the property of flight exists. We just haven't discovered or found that property in a car yet. But that is not to say that that property doesn't exist. Um, so this is where we continue to expand Platonism into the metaphysical. And this right here is interesting. I like
Okay,
this.
so we're going to Neoplatonism now?
Yeah. So you can pull that picture I sent you in Discord after you get that situated.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, Neoplatonism is a pretty diverse field of philosophy, where different categories are being played with. So I'm trying to just attack Neoplatonism generally before getting into how it would fan out into other categories and such. But would a car be a car if it could fly? Oh, you said read that? We don't need a mile long screen. We got scrolling. The next series of the videos are there just out of the physical window. You can view them through.
All right.
I mean, you could probably, like a modern day analogy of Platonism could be a website. Like you're not seeing the actual website, but that website does actually exist physically somewhere. It's on a server somewhere. So you're getting the show. That's pretty cool and pretty interesting. All right. So what we're looking at here, this is getting into the Neoplatonism. It is applying the principles of Platonism, the stuff that we went over, and it kind of gives it. It kind of feels like it has more of a theological feel to it.
Yeah.
A lot of feels going on, but it's Neoplatonism. So,
Three
um,
hypostases. Is this about the Trinity right now?
no, we'll get into that though. So Neoplatonism seems to be Platonism that has been ran through religious and theological scrutiny, spearheaded by an Egyptian philosopher named Plutonus. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it just happens to be a guy named Plutonus that that people
Was on the same
later
type
on.
of shit as Plato.
Well, he was a Platonist. He
Oh,
thought
he studied
that
under the same school as Plato. School of
yeah,
thought, in a way.
yes. He subscribed to the Platonist school of thought. He all he thought he was doing was drawing Platonism to its logical conclusion, essentially. Um, so he's just extrapolating out as far as it would go, and he gets to the bottom from his view. Um, so Neoplatonism personalizes an abstract object that is referred to as the one, which is what you see up there at the top, the absolute. The one was the ultimate form from which all other forms emanate. There's a lot of emanating going on in this conversation. So the one must be a self-causing, all-causing being. Plotinus introduced two other forms or abstract objects, building off of Platonism, the intellect and the soul. The one is also called the good or the beautiful. The
Mhm.
one, being absolute perfection, overflows and emanates the nous or the intellect or mind. And from the nous, the soul emanates. From the soul, nature emanates. It is remember to important that outside of nature, the one and its emanations are taking place, just like we went over in Platonism, outside of space and time.
Yeah.
All right, so the one is beyond understanding and exhaustive description. The one is pure unity without form or distinction. The one self contemplates, and from this emanates the nous. So I'm trying to I'm trying to get further into the more detail into why the separate level, because uh, you're just saying shit comes from shit basically. So
Emergence
know,
property.
yeah, you need yeah, kind of you need to uh justify. So I tried my best to kind of justify each of the the hypostasis.
Mm-hmm.
Um so it says from this emanates the nous. So from the one self-contemplation emanates the nous, which is translated to intellect or mind. Um, the nous is the first principle and consciousness in which all knowledge is contained, still residing outside of space time. This is not in terms of human cognition where it comes to intellect or mind, but if we were to put it in Christian lingo, the nous is the divine mind or the divine intellect.
Yeah.
It is what Christians, from the Christian
The
perspective,
higher mind that's outside of yourself.
we would call the nous God. Um, it's interesting because we're gonna just briefly touch on Christianity and Neoplatonism because I know you're already noticing that there seems to be some overlap.
Uh-huh.
Elder actually asked a question last week, and I went and found the answer to that question online. So we will get to that. Um,
I mean, it seems like Platonism is just like a natural way to divide the human being, if you will, and it just fits right into the piece of the puzzle because we are made in the image of God.
yeah, like I said, you're going to see a lot of parallels
Right.
between Christianity and Christian theology and Platonistic philosophy.
Yeah.
Um, so
Plato was doing a lot of denying of the old gods and moving towards
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he was the one that argued that there necessarily must be a one from which all others come. There must be a God that was ahead of all the other gods
The
that
unmoved mover.
actually determined what was good and bad. In
JS
secular
says,
talk,
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
In secular talk, the noose would be Freud's superego.
uh, y- yeah, I haven't studied any Freud, so I wouldn't be able. I know that there's a lot of weird shit with him. So, but he is like the father of psychology and such. So, modern psychology anyway. Um, do we have any more? I have found that this is from Spaceman. I have found that much of early philosophy was used to explain the existence of God. I personally made it. What is that? Descartes?
Descartes.
Is that Descartes?
He made it to Descartes and got lost in his
Okay.
own doubts.
Okay.
Descartes is
Damn,
crazy.
that's how you
Is
spell
crazy.
Descartes?
Yeah, that is how you spell Descartes. Yes.
That's crazy. Um, and Elder says, yeah, Neoplatonism is used in a lot of Orthodox books to help explain Trinity and why it's necessary. Yeah, yeah. In my opinion, this is again from Spaceman. In my opinion, God is the one. The noose would be the universe made that I think it's supposed to say made that exists within or is part of God. Um, when we when we start going through all of the emanations, um, you'll understand why the noose is God and not the one. And I was thinking about it earlier today when I was thinking about Neoplatonism and why wouldn't the one be God? That wouldn't it just you're basically just saying God has a God. Um, but we will address that when we go on because I think that there is a satisfactory answer to that. Um, but I'm not necessarily a Neoplatonist. There's a lot of overlap, like I've said, but we'll get into it. Um, so the nous is unchanging and perfect intellect containing all external forms or abstract objects. The nous is Platonic heaven, where all of the shadows are being cast from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it says this would be the Plutonic heaven metaphor. With perfect knowledge, the nous both contemplates itself and the one. Um, from it is because the nous is all knowledge. It is complete knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
full. There's no gaps, no holes. It's perfect knowledge.
There can be nothing above that.
Well, no, the the nous is able to contemplate the one and has full knowledge of the one, which means the nous is a
What is the
uh,
one though?
is the one. Well, the one is beyond understanding, and there's also
Inconceptual.
description. Yeah,
Yeah.
inconceivable.
Yeah.
So I didn't get into the justifications of the one and why the one must be necessary in order for the nous. Why couldn't the nous be the one, essentially? Um, but it's because the the only answer I have for that is because the one self contemplates, and it is through this self contemplation that perfect knowledge is born.
Yeah.
Well, this perfect knowledge, and I'm using anthropomorphic language, so you got when we talk about
Through the
metaphysics.
Platonistic worldview, yeah.
uh, through from the one, the self contemplation is what bursts um, the all perfect knowledge,
Yeah.
and this would be God. God is all knowledge. God has all knowledge of the one, and from my understanding, the nous and the one are one because of this.
So
So
God is the personification of the knowledge, but the knowledge has just been and always will be. Not
no,
personification, but the manifestation, maybe.
yeah, I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know. Straight up. I the biggest challenge for me was between the one and the noose. Trying to understand why there must be a distinction.
An emanation. What does emanation mean?
It's like overflowing from, pouring forth from.
So pouring forth from the one, which is so is the one like the absolute, which has always been, which always will be.
Yes.
So that must be God.
Well, um, the one isn't all knowledge. It
It's
doesn't
not all
have,
knowledge. It doesn't
yeah, it
have
doesn't
knowledge
have,
because it can't know because it doesn't have a mind. Is that the thing?
uh, well, its self contemplation is what emanates the noose. It is through the one contemplating itself that pure knowledge is created. This pure knowledge is the noose.
Maybe Platonism is describing the Trinity, but is blaspheming by not like blaspheming, but it's
Um,
like making errors by like prescribing a hierarchy.
so from the Christian view, yeah, I could see Neoplatonism being a blasphemous or heretical view. Um, but this is Platonism. It is again. There's a lot of parallels, but they're not the same.
Yeah,
They have a lot of overlap, but they're two different um, worldviews, um, and they existed at different times, or you know,
yeah,
the the history of them don't perfectly align enough for them to. Uh, they had their own development paths essentially through history.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, Now there has when they two meet, well, now you have fights and a lot of um, the Orthodox Church, a lot of the um, teachers in the church use Neoplatonism to illustrate uh, the necessity of the Trinity.
Yeah, that was
Um,
Elderline was saying.
did he?
Yeah, he said something about Neoplatonism is used in a lot of Orthodox books
Oh
to
yeah,
help explain the Trinity and why it's necessary.
yep. Um, what it, that's I'm trying to find out. Elderline. Yeah, the noose, as I've come to understand it in Orthodox books, seems like a collection of minds or a council, if you will,
Mmm.
and Jesus is the head of that council. The
Mmm.
one, oh, this is Spaceman. The one is God, and God can perceive of himself using his mind. That's why I reverse them for your explanation. And
That's
Elder
right.
says Jesus is also called wisdom and giver of knowledge or receiver of knowledge. I mean,
Because Jesus does call God the Father, and even yeah.
um, so with perfect knowledge, the noose both contemplates itself and the one,
Mm-hmm.
making them one. I don't.
Making them one.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm not understanding why you even need a distinction.
So this, yeah, I was about to say that just defeats the whole law of logic point one.
But I'm going to chalk that up to a misunderstanding on my part. There's something that, I mean, I didn't really dive into the one. That one's really hard.
Yeah.
And it said that um, it said it was beyond understanding and exhaustive description. So we can only kind of hint at what the truth of the matter might be.
Yeah.
Um, so from the noose emanates the psyche, which is translated from, this is all Greek, obviously, this is from Plotinus, and this was like 200 BCE, I believe, roughly. Um,
Emanates the
I
psyche,
believe
which
so.
is the world soul. Is that like
Oh, well, all right. So the picture, the only purpose of the picture was kind of lay out the hierarchy itself.
yeah.
Um, because the transcendence, the entire point of the levels below is to reunite with the level above.
Mm-hmm.
It's again, it's Neoplatonism. I'm sure there's
It's a
answers
cyclical
to
cycle.
questions. Um, Spaceman, two parts of one hypostasis. Each hypostasis is made of two parts.
Two parts of one.
What do you mean? Each is made of two parts?
It's made of
Well,
emanation and transcendence. So the sense world is made of the world soul and the sense world. The world
well, that
soul is made.
that would
It
break
would
the
have to
definition.
make out of three. So there's no way that that could be.
Yeah, that would break the definition of the one because the one is without distinction.
One moment,
Um,
chair stream real quick. I have to take a potty real quick. I'll be right back.
all right. Um, so from the one for the psyche, okay, I'm gonna wait for him for this next part because now you can get into a little bit more uh, understanding of the different levels of hierarchy and why they're necessary. So I can't explain to you, and we'll give an update on a show when I can try to figure out why the distinction between the one and the noose is necessary. Um, the one and noose, noose and soul, world, soul, and sense world. Are made of two parts. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Or unless, well, if the one was made, well, if each hypostasis was made of, are you talking about in are you talking about in Christian theology, or are we still on Neoplatonism?
I think he's talking about. I don't know. I just read the most recent comment. He said these make up the three hypostases. I'm thinking he's talking about the Trinity, right? Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
One,
because
the noose, and the world soul, and the sense world. So it's saying like the two is made up of the. So the sense world and the world soul would be one. The world soul and the noose would be one, and then the noose and the absolute would be one.
okay, so he said he's a faithful. So he means in
In the Platonism
uh
worldview.
yeah, the three hypostases would be the one, the noose, and the psyche, or it says world soul, but that's just a synonym for the psyche,
Okay.
as defined by Plotinus. Um, so if you're saying, wait, did you? Yeah, the sense world isn't one of the three hypostases. Um, you couldn't do the one and the noose because if those were two parts of one thing, and the noose and the soul or psyche, those are another thing. That would just be saying that the one and the soul would be one thing as well, because A equals A equals A equals A, basically. Um, but I might be it's highly likely I'm just misunderstanding something. Um, so the purpose of the psyche um, is the bridge between the noose and material reality. The psyche does this by translating the eternal forms or abstract objects that exist within the noose and shapes that idea into the diversity of material existence. Talk about a fucking mouthful. I'm gonna read it again because it was a lot. Uh, when I wrote that out, I was like, dude. Um, where did it go? The psyche does this by translating the eternal forms or abstract objects from the nous and shapes that idea into the diversity of material existence. It exists in a duality. Higher psyche, which is gazing upward in contemplation of eternal truths that exist within the nous, and lower psyche, which looks downward, interacting with, managing giving and sustaining all life and and physicality in material reality.
So there's constantly a being looking up to some higher form of consciousness until it reaches the one absolute.
Yes. So each of the hypostases are bridges between the one above it and the one below it, except for the one, obviously, because there's nothing above the one. So the nous is the connection between the one and the psyche or the soul. Um, there was something. Oh, the psyche is still outside of space time. Remember, this is all still metaphysical. The human soul reflects the psyche in that same duality, which is, if I remember correctly, which is why we look up for intellect, but we're still tied to our physical bodies. So we are capable of seeing beyond the physical world, whether we are actually seeing something or seeing what is real. Well, I guess in Platonist it would be real as long as it was conceptual.
Yeah.
But in some sense, it would be real.
Seeing
Um,
beyond the world that we're physically linked to.
JS says, I think it's more than the id, ego, and superego than the Trinity. I think it's more like the id, super.
I'd have to look
Um,
those up.
well, I'll tell you what I do. I'll do what I did with Elderline. I will take what you just said, and I'll have an answer for you next week. Um, so I'll get into Elderline's question from last week. He said, yeah, I think Neoplatonism was a response to Christianity in the early centuries. Don't know that for sure. Just heard one person say that once. So when I was looking into this, Neoplatonism wasn't born as a response to Christianity. In fact, uh, most of Platonicus's inspiration uh, for his dive into Neoplatonism. It wasn't called Neoplatonism. It was just Platonism in his day. And he thought he was just doing Platonism. It was later that we were like, oh, homie, you were doing a whole lot more than what Plato was doing.
Yeah.
Um, but he actually studied Eastern philosophy and religions. So it wasn't actually as a response to Christianity. It was born out of Eastern religion. Um, it was an independent development, but as history unfolded, the two did tangle, with Neoplatonism sometimes opposing and sometimes feeding into Christian thought. Early Platonism was its own thing. Later, it couldn't ignore the Christian wave. So they were two powerful ideas that were fighting each other. It was when Constantine um, I can't remember. I don't want to speak incorrectly, but when he had declared Christianity the religion of the empire, that was when Christianity really began to explode, and obviously within the culture there was already Platonism was still had a strong foothold. So from what it looked like when I was looking at it, basically the church uses Neoplatonism to help explain um, a lot of the theology within within Christianity, but the church generally rejects
Platonism.
Neoplatonism because
Yeah.
of its some of its other implications, and that's probably the one is probably um, a great example of that. All right, so what do you think of Neoplatonism?
I think it's like you said, there's a lot of things that should be rejected, but it touches on a lot of realism, such as like how the human form is built, because we do have a trinity to ourselves like the Godhead. And I don't know if this is blasphemous or not, but we ourselves are built with a mind, body, and spirit, such as, you know what I mean? Um, three beings
Oh yeah,
create
yeah.
one, such as the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit create one. We are built in the image of God, and so that it just tracks for me. And so I think they were lighting on something, but they didn't have the guidance of the one true God behind them. They were guided by whatever um principality ruled whatever nation they were from, and it just kind of went askew.
We have a few chats. JS, it's more like the world, id, the mind, ego, and the soul, super ego. But there's four, so I don't know. Elderline says the fourth is you in the context of Christianity. Yeah, in the context of Neoplatonism, the fourth is material reality. Um, then Spaceman says you need to think of a timeline. Platonism was a standard method of thinking. Christianity came about, then Neoplatonism. Yeah, but Neoplatonism didn't come about until I think it was, or I don't. I think it had started before. It was only like 40 or 50 years between the death of Plotinus, who we accredit to being the father of Neoplatonism,
Hmm.
um, and uh, Christianity exploding as a mainstream religion.
Yeah, and I don't know if Christianity would give rise to Neoplatonism. In the Christian worldview, it would be simple to explain because the enemy has a lot of, you know what I mean, and a lot of knowledge and a lot of ways that they want to exploit the truth. And so they know the truth better than anybody else. And so just a way to twist the truth a little bit to lead everybody to darkness. You know what I mean? But if you don't believe, then that probably wouldn't be a satisfactory explanation.
Oh, did I finish Spaceman's chat? Christianity came about, then Neoplatonism to explain Christianity. They may have attempted to use Platonism to explain Christianity, giving rise to Neoplatonism. Third century. Yeah, they both. Well, obviously Christianity came before the third century, but we're talking about the explosion of Christianity had taken place after the death of the father of Neoplatonism. So I couldn't say definitively that Neoplatonism was absolutely in no response to Christianity. I'm just saying the timeline to me seems to suggest that they developed independently and then began to clash later on, not as if Christianity was around and Platonism was like, well, we take uh, some of the Christianity idea and implement it so that now we have the one and the emanations from that and from that. Um, so, I mean, it could, I mean, because of how long ago all of this happened, it could just be complete speculation on either end. I'm just telling you the side that I lean on. Like I said, there's a lot of parallels, and that's probably from the conflict um, of where they were bumping heads, and the fact that Christianity, at least in the Orthodox, use Neoplatonism to kind of help illustrate and uh, um, what am I looking? Demonstrate uh, the Trinity, the necessity for the Trinity, like Elder had said. But I mean, that's all I have on Neoplatonism.
And that was fantastic, bro. I mean, it
Yeah.
sucks that none of you motherfuckers wanted to hop up in the chat. You know what I
Give them
mean?
shit every week.
Every single week, man. Fucking, but it's all right, man. I'll have to fucking learn more from Professor Stepfire every week. My retarded ass getting schooled in the school of philosophy. You know what I mean?
Well, you're being schooled by a dumbass, so
I
Spaceman said it's not a take from Christianity. I agree. We agree there. Eric Klein, the way Neoplatonism works in context of Christianity also can explain the problem of the filioque. I can't explain it very well, I guess, but I remember Jay Dyer doing it a long time ago. Neoplatonism with the filioque. Oh, because
don't know what the filioque is.
it was aside from the Pope from the Catholic Church, it was another big reason for the schism. I think the filioque was
Is
basically
it
to
like the
crack.
Pope cannot be infallible or some shit?
No, the filioque is I believe it's the Nicene Creed, where it says that
Nicene
the
Creed, the Orthodox Church is built on the Nicene Creed, right?
yeah yeah I mean well in the Catholic Church well I mean they're
The Orthodox churches, though,
the
right?
yeah the Catholic Church, from my understanding, um, introduced the filioque, which was a distinction, which is just a single word that
Mhm.
means, well, basically, I got to lay out what the
Basically,
Nicene Creed
laying
was.
down the divinity of Christ or something like that.
No, no. So the way the Nicene Creed states is that the Son emanates or pours forth from the Father, and or through. I mean, so it is from the Father through the Son to the Holy Spirit.
Creating a hierarchy.
Yeah, the filioque says that it is from the Father and the Son to the Holy Spirit. And
Yeah.
this distinction, this discrepancy causes a philosophical, theological issue. I guess philosophical too, if you depending on how you take it. But between uh, equivocating, or you're putting the Father and the Son, they share an attribute that the third doesn't share. So there's a distinction that's being drawn between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit that would essentially put the Father and the Son above that of the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
which would cause a fracture in the Trinity. And you can't have a fracture in the Trinity
Yeah,
if
they
it's no
all
longer a
have to
Trinity.
be equal and as
Yeah,
one.
exactly. So
Mm.
the way that I heard it explained is that each of the heads, or each of the persons of the Godhead, uh, they each have their own distinct distinctions within themselves, but they don't share. The two of them don't share something that the third one doesn't have, or doesn't have properties. Has
So the
properties that the third one
and
doesn't have.
is the reason for the distinction. Of the filioque, the and is literally the
Basically,
filioque.
basically. So instead of through the Son, from the Father through the Son to the Holy Spirit, it's from the Father and the Son to the
Through
Holy Spirit.
to
Yeah.
so basically, instead of making it seem like one organism, for lack of a better word, right? From the Father to the Son, from the Father through the Son to the Holy Spirit, the and makes it seem like from the Father and the Son to the Holy Spirit, like the Holy Spirit is under
Yes.
the Father and the Son.
Yep.
Understandable, because fuck y'all niggas, man. My God is
But
one.
it's interesting looking at the some of these theological distinctions that are being made, because if you don't ever look into them, you're like, what do we need these distinctions for anyway? But then you start looking at them, you're like, oh, well, I guess because of the implications of these distinctions.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
You start thinking deeper into it because that's exactly whenever I like heard you first start talking about it, I was like, well, what does it matter? You know what I mean? But then like you started getting into, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, you kind of have to differentiate these terms.
look, I got to be honest, I'm kind of retarded. So don't take anything that I'm saying on this stuff for take it to the bank, because this is just my understanding, and I haven't done nearly enough studying to be of any kind of authority. I'm just telling you how I understand the problem to be.
Yeah, no, it makes sense
So
though from how you understand it, and I ain't got time to go see a priest. I've been trying to get to these fucking Orthodox classes for I don't know how long now, bro. Fucking, I work 6, 7 days a week. It's not working out, bro. It's not fucking working out.
it can be rough. So Spaceman, information spread slowly, and by the time Christianity reaches Platonism. So you explain using the knowledge you already utilize. Um, well, yeah, but Plotinus didn't have Christian influence. Uh, He had Eastern religions, Buddhism, and Hinduism, and such. So
Wasn't
Confucianism.
didn't Plato live in after like in the Christian realm whenever like the church had a huge effect on the Roman civilization?
Uh, no, I don't. I mean, Christianity was. I have to look, man. There's so many people I'm trying to keep up with. Pluto. So Pluto. Oh man, hold on. I pulled up the planet.
So,
He
Plu-
lived from 428 BCE to um
oh, so this was before
348.
Christianity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is a few hundred years before. And then I'll look up Plotinus.
I mean, who's to say he didn't borrow it from Judaism?
Um, it said he lived in 204 BC. I mean, CE. So after.
Yeah. So, after the birth, but I don't think he lived all the way till the death, I don't think.
No,
So,
the
Christianity,
death would have been year zero.
00.
Yeah, year zero is the death of Christ.
Oh,
So
okay.
the easy way to remember it is BC is before Christ and AD is after death.
So Christ was born like fucking what, like 33 AD?
BC, before Christ.
BC. Oh, my bad.
So I mean,
I'm retarded.
unless there's just a 33-year period there in which time just didn't move at all.
Yeah, 33
according
or
to a calendar.
35 or something like that.
Because
BC.
technically, Christ couldn't have been born year 33 before Christ, because Christ is there. But after death, you wouldn't say that the first 33 years of Christ's
BCE,
life would be
before
AD.
Christ era, I guess, before the fucking, Pentecost and the pouring of the Spirit.
Yeah, it's a Latin word, I believe. BCE.
Yo, Bill, how you doing, man?
Before the Common Era.
Yeah,
So I guess
before Common Era. Oh, that's fucking. That's the yeah. That's the fucking like the scientists trying to fucking replace the before Christ thing.
Yeah. Anno Domini, which is in the year of the Lord. So AD is Latin for in the
So
year.
as soon as he's born, it's just year of our Lord. It's always.
Which means after the birth of. Okay, yeah. So I want to.
Facts, JS. Because before
BC.
Christ, they changed it to make it secular. Before Common Era, yeah, they changed it to make it fucking atheist bullshit.
The BC years to a year that occurred, a year that occurred before the traditionally reckoned birth of Christ. Reckoned birth of Christ.
We don't reckon he done birth. We reckon he was born around this time, man.
I mean, I say reckoned a lot, but that.
Me too.
To me.
I'm from the South though, so it's just kind of a normal thing. People just say that shit.
Yeah, BC is before Christ. Okay. I thought it was another Latin word, and
No,
I
I knew
just
it was
said
before
before
Christ,
Christ.
but BCE, that I guess that's before Common Era, which is just weird. That just sounds like some weird evolutionist babble.
The common. I mean, what the hell is the common era? Is it the era
Yeah,
in which we all have in common?
yeah,
So
which
what?
is like, yeah,
So what in year 0 AD or 1 AD or
before
whatever?
Harambe died.
That
Is-
would be. I mean, even uh, the before common
just
era.
before the year that we're living in. On it, how long is the era?
Well, yeah, like year 19 or 1800 would be before the common era.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like, so now 18 BCE, 1800 BCE, and you're like, now you got some fun. Good job, secularist.
Yeah, done fucked yourselves.
Done
Left
fucked us
yourselves in
all.
a yeah loop of logic, you sons of bitches.
Oh, we got some more chats. Um, by the way, I don't know shit, just an idiot on the internet. My comments should be read like a student's question in a class trying to understand. Well, they shouldn't be asked like I'm a teacher teaching. 'Cause I don't know shit either.
We all
So,
learning together, big dog.
uh, Elderline Catholics did it to get rid of Arianism, but guess what? It didn't work. Um, Spaceman, not saying he had influence. What's up, Bill?
Bill.
Elderline, I've also ordered a book about a lot of Eastern religions having a trinity until around after a great disaster like a flood, I think. 30 AD is his
What a
death,
badass.
50 AD is where Acts happens. Um, Urban Adventures BC was before Christ. Oh, you read that one. Spaceman, I thought there was a 33-year gap, which is accounted for in history by the Bible. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
And then
I
Eldline
mean,
says, hell, if the atheists want to make up their own year, why not just give them the age of the earth?
yeah,
Facts. 3 billion,
yeah,
60 billion, 70 billion, 5,000 trillion, million, dillion years old, bro.
man. Yeah, you gotta remember every time we come up, we don't say March 24th of 2025. We say March 24th of 340,560,000, whatever the hell it is. It's like, shit, dude. That's a
Condrillion
chore
and 58 years old, yeah.
thought it was a chore before writing your damn date on everything.
Facts.
There
Let's just say the year of our Lord and just get it over with.
we go. I'm down with that. JS, because the age of the Earth changes by 21 million years every year. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the age of the Earth is. I don't. There's no contradiction that it could be that old, you know, or that it could have been created 6,000 years. There's no contradiction there either.
Yeah,
Um,
regardless.
so, and it's not, of salvific importance, so it's kind of just, I don't mind toying around with it, but I'm not going to get into a you're fucking wrong argument about it. I mean, I'll, if I have to debate it, obviously, but
Yeah, I could debate it from either side, honestly, and it's so
yeah,
interesting, like the old New Earth, old Earth, New Earth type arguments. I love it.
yeah. I mean, it's hard because when it comes to academia and such, with the leftist bias and the secular bias that is included with all that, you don't know how far that stretches into science, how many different fields that's affecting,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
you don't even necessarily know if it's affecting um, the truth that we are receiving out of this on either end of it. Um, so because it could, like I said, it could be very well true that there was dinosaurs millions of years ago, and then there was a big asteroid that took everything out, and that humans and dinosaurs didn't coexist. These are logically possible.
yeah,
It's not a contradiction. So and not nobody was there to actually observe it to know for certain whether or not it happened the way that we think it happened. We're just using our best guess. um, So it does pose a problem because how much of the rest of academia and the hard sciences are being affected by the same bias for some of the more um, what do they call theoretical sciences.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop. Like, especially whenever you don't have like not the evidence, but you don't have like the data there to, like you said, observe yourself. You really only have speculation, and so you
Yeah,
have all the data right there pointing you otherwise, but somehow
yeah.
I
I
don't know.
mean, we don't have infallible data. Is essentially what the problem. We don't
That's
have
right.
any
Yeah, yeah,
infallible
yeah.
data when it comes to any of this stuff. It's just all theory laden, and it's theory on theory on theory on theory, and it's like, well, bruh, all that has to happen is one of those theories be wrong.
Mm,
So every time you add another theory, you're just multiplying the chances that it's all fucking bullshit, dude.
yeah.
So,
Eventually, that house of cards is gonna come crumbling down.
Spaceman, as the apparent resident non-believer, I don't have an issue with the BCAD method. That's so long ago that changing it makes no sense.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I
Good
mean,
shit, spaceman. Leave it like that.
I'm not upset that the 12-month cycle of the year isn't based on Christian principles. That doesn't upset me. So
It is
if there's
based on
a,
Hebrew principles.
well, I mean, I think it's based on a rotation around the sun, technically, but
Either
um, I
way, yeah.
I just mean, well, when I say the 12-month cycle, I'm not talking about the actual AD
Calendar.
BC problem. Yeah, um, I probably should have used a different analogy because I could understand the confusion there. um, I don't know another one. When they measure nutrients, the what is it? The nutrition facts on the cans, they don't like use biblical principles or a biblical measurement in order. I don't need that. And for a secularist to absolutely need everything to be put in a secular way, like the ACDC, the ADBC, um, con- quote unquote controversy. I don't think it's really that controversial, but I mean, I guess it is to some extent because it's BCE. But um, you know, it, to the secularists, it's all arbitrary anyway. So what the fuck does it matter? Uh, Everything is just arbitrary. So, but that's I think that was a good show. It was much better going over Platonism and Neoplatonism with you than
Man.
trying
Yeah,
to
we're gonna have to
drag
get
myself through
into
a
some
development.
more about it next week. And you motherfuckers gotta start hitting that link and hopping up in, having some conversations with us, man. But thank you all for being here in the chat. I thank y'all for hitting them likes. I thank y'all for hitting that share button, man. Just for chilling with us, getting a load of the news, and learning a little bit about philosophy, man. It's been a good time, bro. I still don't understand how they use ice core samples to judge how each ice age happened. When an ice age ends, when all the ice is gone. That's kind of facts. Come on.
Might be a good point. Might be a good point.
Yeah,
But God bless you all.
yeah.
Thanks for
Godspeed.
coming out.
Good week, y'all. Appreciate it.